We have world champion Ding Liren taking fort here against Alireza Firouzja. Ding has had a very tough tournament here and has lost 8 games here. And now he takes on Firouzja and will be looking to make a comeback. This is for the fight from places 5th to 8th. Of course, the first move of freestyle chess is extremely important because you can begin the game with d4, e4. But Ding decides to play d4. And the engines are not in great favor of this move. f5 played by Alireza, which is a fine move. Magnus in this same position went g4 against Nodirbek, which was a very interesting choice. But d4 f5, Ding goes c3. He opens up the bishop towards the pawn, but the pawn is protected by the rook. Alireza goes c6, opening up his bishop, and Ding also opens up the bishops here. It just feels that in chess 960, the placement of your bishops, how you take care of them in the opening, seems more important than the knights. But Ding brings his knight out to d3 and attacks the pawn. If Alireza pushes his pawn to e4, then take, and already there could be some issues here with knight c5 attacking b7 and e4. You always have to be careful for these tactics. He goes knight g6, Ding brings out his knight to g3 and now pushes the pawn. Now very important, you can't go to e4, you can, but then d5 kicks you away. So Ding goes to h5 attacking the g7 pawn, and I believe he was expecting some move like queen e7, but what a move by Alireza, knight e7. He attacks the knight. All of a sudden, this is big trouble because if you take on g7, queen f7 traps the knight. Queen h4, and beautiful move here by Alireza. He goes g5. If queen g4, there is bishop e6, and he takes, but then comes rook f5, and believe it or not, on the 8th move itself, Ding Liren has lost a piece. Unbelievable. This can only happen in freestyle chess or chess 960 because in classical chess you hardly see players losing material so early in the game. That too, a player of Ding Liren's caliber. D takes e5 played, and now the best move is to go knight d5, defending this pawn. But Alireza makes an error which gives Ding a chance. If queen takes f4, here bishop takes d3, bishop takes d3, takes. This is still a playable position. But Ding takes on f4 not with the queen but with the knight, and Alireza chops off the pawn on e5. Somehow Ding doesn't seem to be able to get the best moves flowing in this tournament. He puts his bishop on d4. If we count the number of pawns, white has 2 pawns for a piece, but that should not be enough. Rook goes to a5. Now the rook is slightly weirdly placed on the corner of the board, but it is putting pressure on the a2 pawn. Here knight comes out to b6, and you can see that Alireza is trying to quickly coordinate his pieces. Rook d1, maybe not the best move here, and bishop comes out to c7, which is actually preparing long castles here. b4, the rook needs to move, but where exactly? There are no real squares on the 5th rank to go to, and so he goes rook a3, which is also a great square. It seems like the rook is slightly misplaced on a3, but it's quite useful there. Ding snatches another pawn, so now he has 3 pawns for the piece. But the problem now is that black pieces have all coordinated, and soon black is going to start launching a kingside attack with the queen moving away and the rook coming out. That's exactly what Alireza does. He brings his queen to f7, making way for the rook to come to g8. Knight to h3 played by Ding. It just feels like the white pieces don't have any harmony here. Bishop takes bishop, and you need to take this back with either the pawn or the rook. He takes back with the pawn, but this is game over now. Rook g8 coming in. Alireza brings his rook. You can see the queen lined up, the rook lining up. This rook also doing okay. Bishop here. He plays knight to g5. This is a pin, and Ding wants to push his pawn to h4 to protect that knight. How is black going to play? He goes queen g6, attacking the knight on g5. Pawn comes up ahead to defend the knight. And now Alireza has a classy move here. Yes, he goes for it. Knight f5. With this, he attacks the bishop, and also the pawn on h4 can be taken, and then the knight. So he goes c4. Does Ding. And now there are many ways to continue, but knight d5 is such a pretty move. If you take the knight, which is what Ding does, now knight takes d4. And the thing is, if you take with the queen, bishop b6, and you lose. So that's the reason why this knight cannot be taken. And Ding now is slowly figuring it out that this position is just completely lost. He takes on c6. It's not even about the material as such. It's more about the quality of the pieces. The black pieces are just phenomenally placed. The bishop is popping out here. And so Ding goes queen e4, offering a trade of queens. At least in the end game, he would have some solace. But Alireza is just completely brutal. He goes queen d6. He wants to come in here with h2 check, h1 check, pick up this pawn. And that's what is on his mind. Ding starts to run away with his king to f1. But that's not going to work, is it? Queen h2 is what Alireza is thinking about. And the point is, yes, queen h2 is the correct move. If you take here on d4, then already bishop b6 is a powerful move. You control this. Next move, queen h1, and g2 is hanging. Ding resigns the game. Alireza scores a miniature victory in just 26 moves, but the game was already over as early as move 8. The problems of the world champion continue.